Hey guys, it's Reagan and today I'm filming my August wrap-up. Now, the month of August was a very interesting month for me. For the most of it, I was in Europe, which was a lot of fun. But because I was traveling, I had just a weird, sometimes I was reading a lot, like last week, and then sometimes I wasn't reading at all, like when I was in Europe. But that being said, I had a really good reading month this month. I read a total of 5 books, but basically 6, and they were all, wait for it, fantasy. So let's just go ahead and get started by talking about what I read this month. First things first, I gotta talk about the most important thing I read this month, and that was The Invasion of the Tierling by Erica Johansson. This is the second book to the Queen of the Tierling fantasy trilogy. I read the first book in the previous month and I really enjoyed it, so I was very much looking forward to picking up this book, and I will happily say probably one of my favorite books I read this year. So good, amazing, loved it, it's just a can't even deal. Mentioned previously, The Queen of the Tierling is a very interesting fantasy setting. It follows our main character Kelsey, who has just come of age and has just come into power at her kingdom. Now her kingdom is a very traditional fantasy setting, however it's set in our distant future but in a regressed society, meaning like there are hints to our past or to our present, but it's very much like old school and there's magic and things like that. It's very, very, very cool. I really, really love this series. It's very political, and our main character Kelsey is such a strong female character. It's very dynamic and complex. Not to mention this book is home to a lot of interesting female characters, both in diversity and representation and personality. It's so good. This book in particular I devoured in like a couple of sittings. Like I was just traveling around and all I wanted to do was read this book. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. There's a really interesting parallel storyline that is present in this book that I can't tell you anything about because spoilers, but it's so interesting and just makes the world so much more complex. A lot of individuals who maybe read the first book had some issues with the world building in the first book, and I will happily say a lot of it is explained in the second book in great detail, so you'll have much more of an understanding to be like how the kingdom came into place and what's exactly going on, and it's just so good. So obviously I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Like it was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I highly recommend it. Please read it and then tell me that you've read it. Please and thank you. Okay. Then after I read The Invasion of the Tierling, I still wanted to read fantasy, so I picked up The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. This is book 2 to the Raven Boys cycle, which is a very, very popular fantasy series on the booktube. I really enjoyed this book, and in fact I think I liked it also better than the first one. The Raven Boys series is a very peculiar fantasy series set in a small southern town in Virginia. It follows a group of very weird and very different boys called the Raven Boys, and a young girl named Blue who comes from a family of psychics, and they kind of come together as friends, or maybe more than friends, in search of things called ley lines. All sounds very weird, probably a little confusing to you, which it might be, but I promise when you read it, it all makes sense. This story has a very lovely atmosphere and just story. There's something so whimsical and lovable about everyone in this book. I don't know, just the whole thing I really, really enjoy. The narration is just so cool. Like I feel like these would be a really awesome movie series. I don't know, I feel like they're really great. They don't seem to take themselves too seriously, but there's a lot of really important things that go on. I don't know, I could go on and on about this. I really, really like this as well. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Really excited to continue on with the third book, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and then the fourth and final book comes out, I believe, early 2016, so I'm right on track. This was also very good. So after I got back from Europe, I felt like reading a genre I really don't delve into very often, and that is urban fantasy. I've been hearing a lot about one particular series and I really wanted to give it a try, and it is called the Fever series, and I read the first 2 books, Dark Fever and Blood Fever. Now I believe this is a 7-book urban fantasy series, and I got the ebooks of it because, let's be honest, the covers are none too cute, so I just was just like, ebooks, easy to read. This series is just a boatload of fun. I would say it's like the best way to describe it, and I feel like a lot of people would love it, it feels kind of like the Shadowhunter Chronicles, but like a new adult version of that, or maybe like the Vampire Academy series, but just like urban fantasy instead of just paranormal. It is just really fun and extremely addicting. It follows our main character Mac, who is super spunky, hilarious, stands up for herself, doesn't take crap from people, as she travels to Ireland after the mysterious death of her older sister who died in Ireland. She travels to Ireland to try to uncover the mystery of what happened, and doing so she figures out that she can see Fae, and that she's like, well, crap. What the crap is going on? And then she finds that her sister's death has a lot more to it than she initially thought, and she meets another character who helps her navigate through her all of a sudden Fae world, who is very handsome and very mysterious, and there is a lot of tension between these two characters. Like I mentioned, this book series is not the most amazing thing I've ever read in my entire life. However, it is extremely addicting, fun, and has a really interesting plot with a lot of interesting lore like woven in there. So like it's definitely not flat. It has a lot going on for it, and I really enjoyed the first two books. I literally read the first two books in maybe 3 days. Like they're totally marathon worthy. If you are someone who really liked the Shadowhunter Chronicles when you were younger and maybe you're a little older now and you want something a little different, definitely check these out. I feel like they would very much appeal to you and pretty much anyone who does like that. I mean, I keep saying they're for kind of an older audience because there are sex scenes and stuff like that that are not present in the Shadowhunter Chronicles, but they're really good. I gave the first one, I think, like a 4.25, and the second one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really liked them. They were a lot of fun. And the very last book I completed this month was The Assassin's Blade by Miss Sarah J. Maas. I read this, of course, in preparation for Queen of Shadows that is coming out on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, or September 1st for people who are watching this not on the day it was uploaded, but that's okay. But yeah, this is just the prequel novellas to the Throne of Glass series. If you're wondering, like, Reagan, I thought you already read that. Yeah, I know. I waited a really long time to read this. But it was still really good. It was really interesting to see some tales of Selena Saradathian before the story of Throne of Glass takes place. And while this does give a very interesting perspective on her life beforehand, I wouldn't say it's necessarily necessary to read at any one point in the series. I don't really feel like you'd be confused anywhere. I feel like a lot of this is hinted to, but because it's hinted to in the series, it's nice to have the entire story, which this does present. I really liked it. Some of the stories I liked more than others. Because of that, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good, and it made me really pumped for Queen of Shadows, which I'm going to read very soon. Believe me. And the last book I'm going to talk about is the Peruse-topia book club pick of the month. And that, of course, is Rook by Sharon Cameron. Now, I am really almost done with this. I only have like 100 pages left of this book, and I'm really enjoying it. However, just because of the hecticness of this month, I was in Europe. Sasha had moved into college. She's starting her first semester of college, which is just so exciting, that we decided to push this back a little bit just because to give us more time and maybe you guys more time because of the back to school season. As you know, it's a hectic one. So the live show for this and the day we're going to be talking about this is now September 25th, and obviously by then I'll definitely have this completed. I will say I'm really enjoying this. It is a really interesting futuristic regress society. Basically it's set kind of in a weird, almost revolutionary France, circa like the French Revolution time period, and it follows our main character who comes from a very rich family, but she's much more than she seems, and she's kind of fighting for a secret underground society and helping people forward. It's really good, a lot of fun so far, and I can't wait to give you my more in-depth feelings at the end of the month, and also in my review video that will also come up sometime this month. But yes. Alrighty guys, those are all the books I completed in the month of August. Let me know down below your favorite book you read this month. I would love to know, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!